In 2006, we did something strangely human. We took a name that had lived in textbooks and bedtime stories, and we erased it with a vote. We didn't destroy a world. We did something colder. We reclassified it. We called it a dwarf planet. Misfit, a chunk of dead debris drifting at the edge of the sun's reach, forgotten in the freezer of the solar system. And for a while that story was comforting because dead means predictable. Dead means safe. But then we sent a camera into the black. Not a telescope. Not a guess. A machine with eyes crossing nearly 4 billion miles of emptiness. To look this exile in the face, what it found was not a quiet, frozen rock. What it found was a beautiful, freezing nightmare. Floating mountains, skies that stain the landscape with red snow, and a giant pale heart too perfect, too clean beating, like a bruise in the dark. For 76 years, we called Pluto a planet. Then we threw it away like an embarrassment. But the old king didn't die. It waited. And when we finally arrived, we realized something. The edge of our solar system isn't empty. It's haunted. Imagine the journey. Nearly a decade of flight, tearing through space at tens of thousands of miles per hour, chasing a dot that never grows bigger until suddenly it does. Its Earth shrinks behind you. The sun shrinks too, not into darkness, but into insult. It goes from a blinding god to a hard little star, just another needle of light pinned into an endless, indifferent black. By the time you reach Pluto's realm, sunlight is weak and thin, hundreds of times dimmer than a cloudy afternoon back home. Noon doesn't turn the sky blue. Noon doesn't even promise warmth. Noon is a dim suggestion, permanent twilight, that never becomes day. And then, in the summer of 2015, our cameras finally pierced the veil. There it was, sprawled across Pluto's face like an impossible signature. A heart smooth, bright, centered. The internet called it cute. A cosmic Valentine. A message. A joke from the universe. But the scientists didn't laugh, because they recognized the shape of violence. That heart wasn't love. It was geology. It was impact and pressure and chemistry, frozen into a symbol. That only looks gentle because it's so far away. That heart is Sputnik Planetian. Enormous basin, roughly 1,000 kilometers across, filled not with water ice like a normal frozen world, but with something more sinister, a churning. Glacier of nitrogen, mixed with methane and carbon monoxide. A sea made of solid poison. And here's what makes it worse. It isn't still. Pluto should be dead. It's too small, too distant, too cold to have motion left in its bones. But deep under that pale heart, there is just enough heat-faint radioactive warmth trapped in. The core like the last ember in an abandoned fireplace to stir the nitrogen. Slowly, patiently, like thick soup on a stove that will never boil fast, but will never truly stop simmering. The surface of Sputnik Planitia is constantly being renewed. By convection, the frozen nitrogen rising and sinking in lazy cells, wiping away scars as they form. Craters don't last. Impacts don't leave permanent wounds. Anything that tries to mark this place gets swallowed. A rock slams into the heart, and over time it's dragged down, buried. Erased, consumed by a pristine white plain that refuses to remember. A world with an ocean that eats evidence. A clean crime scene at the edge of the sun, and the real extremity of Pluto doesn't even live in the heart. It lives at the shoreline. Stand at the edge of Sputnik, Planitia if you could. Stand at all end, you'd see mountains rising out of the white, like teeth emerging from bone. On Earth, mountains are born from rock. On Pluto, rock is almost irrelevant. The temperature sinks to around minus 390 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold enough to make the rules unfamiliar. At that kind of cold, ordinary water ice doesn't behave like ice. It behaves like stone, like steel, like bedrock. And those jagged peaks, some towering thousands of feet high, rising toward a sky that stays black even at noon, are made of water ice. Hard, brutal, unyielding. Is this? They don't just sit there. Because in Pluto's chemistry, water ice is lighter than the dense nitrogen ice filling Sputnik Planitia. Also, those mountains can float. Whole ranges can break free and drift like slow, continent-sized icebergs across a frozen sea of nitrogen. Imagine it. An alpine wall of jagged rock, gliding toward you across a pale plain of solid poison. Moving so slowly, you'd only notice it if you lived for centuries. And if you stare long enough at those peaks, you'll catch the next unsettling detail. The snow on top isn't white, it's dark. Rusty, blood red. Pluto doesn't have weather like Earth, but it has chemistry. And chemistry can be just as violent. Even weak sunlight carries ultraviolet knives. When that faint UV hits methane frost on Pluto's surface, it triggers reactions that build more complex organic molecules, sooty compounds, that darken into a reddish haze and settle down, like ash. The result is a constant slow fall of crimson dust, painting the ice with the color of dried wounds. A frozen kingdom with floating mountains stained red under a black sky. For decades we assumed Pluto was simple, a solid, inert ball of ice, and rock frozen all the way down. But Pluto doesn't behave like a simple object. The massive weight of Sputnik Planitia should have made Pluto wobble over millions of years, reorienting itself rolling so that this heavy basin would settle into a different position. Yet it sits where it sits, like a fixed target. The physics only makes sense if there's something beneath the crust acting as a counterweight, something heavy. Something mobile, something that can shift and mass around to stabilize the world. And that leads to the most unsettling possibility of all. Pluto may hide a subsurface ocean, not sunlight-warmed water, not a bright blue sea. A buried, pressurized layer of liquid, kept from freezing by the weight of the ice above and the last trace of heat below. Pitch-black ocean sealed under miles of crust at the coldest edge of the sun's empire. And wherever there is liquid water anywhere in the universe, the same forbidden question crawls out of the dark. Could something live there? Could something move in that unseen ocean, in a place that has never known day? We don't know. Can't know yet. Pluto keeps its deepest secrets under a lid of ice that might as well be a tombstone. And then just when you think this world can't surprise you again, Pluto shows you something fragile. As the spacecraft sped away into the deeper Kuiper belt, it turned back for one last look. It caught Pluto eclipsing the sun, the world becoming a perfect black coin with a thin, glowing ring around it. An atmosphere. Not thick, not welcoming, but real. A delicate blue halo of haze, luminous and ghostly, wrapping the silhouette like a final breath. A blue sky where you'd least expect one. Beauty right before abandonment. Pluto doesn't endure this strange existence alone. Locked to it, bound in a permanent gravitational dance, is its enormous moon, Charon. Charon is so massive compared to Pluto that this isn't a normal planetan moon story. It's a binary. Two bodies orbiting a point in empty space between them, spinning together like partners who can't let go. They are tidally locked, meaning they always show the same face to each other. Stand on one side of Pluto, and Charon hangs there, huge and unmoving, a silent eye that never rises and never sets, just watches. Walk to the other side of Pluto, and you will never see it at all, as if half the world lives under surveillance and the other half lives in denial. And Charon itself bears a wound. Its north pole is stained with a dark red Cat-Mordor macula, bruise on an otherwise pale world. The leading idea is as eerie as it is poetic. Gases escaping Pluto's thin atmosphere can drift through space, settle onto Charon's cold pole, and transform under radiation into darker, redder compounds. Two cosmic outcasts sharing the same bleeding chemistry, exchanging material across a gap of vacuum like lovers swapping breath in a room without air. Whirling around this central pair are four tiny moonsnicks, Hydra, Kerberos, and Styx, small. Irregular, chaotic, they don't glide with the calm dignity of Earth's moon. They tumble. They spin unpredictably, as if still remembering the violence that birthed them, as if they're shattered fragments of an ancient collision that never fully settled down. Little guardians of a frozen kingdom, rotating like broken teeth around. An exiled crown? We may have taken away Pluto's title, we may have called it a dwarf, as if size decides worth. But Pluto remains a king in its own right, the ruler of the Kuiper Belt's imagination, a world with red-stained snows, with floating, mountains of water as stone, with a hidden heart that churns and erases the scars of anything that strikes it. With the possibility, only a possibility, of a black ocean sealed in darkness beneath the crust. Pluto doesn't need our validation. It will keep turning in the cold, locked in its eternal dance with Charon, long after our species is gone. Long after our radio signals thin into silence, long after the sun itself begins to change. And maybe that's the most unsettling thought. We called it dead because we wanted the frontier to be simple, but it isn't. The outskirts of the solar system are not a graveyard. They are a museum of strange physics and alien chemistry places, where ice becomes rock, poison becomes ocean, and darkness still makes weather out of molecules. And if Pluto feels isolated and quiet, then understand this: its silence is mercy. Because if you leave the Kuiper belt and drift a little closer to the sun, the quiet ends. The darkness starts to roar. Out there waits a giant blue monster where winds scream at thousands of kilometers per hour, tearing the atmosphere into ribbons. And the rain may fall as diamonds in the crushing depths, but that is a story for another time. Keep looking up. Stay curious.